Hear you.
I know.
Well, you were very distorted. I was saying, I heard you earlier today speaking to the BBC, and you described this whole impeachment process as political theatre. It's clearly more than that. You can't talk it down, can you? And for Mr. Trump, a conviction could have really serious consequences.
Well, that's great and all, but the reality is, how are you going to have a conviction when they're not even going to have the Senate trial until he's already out of office, which is my whole point, that this is political theater.
Well, we've just heard from a constitutional law expert that it's an open question. It may go to the courts, but it does seem to be entirely possible to put someone on trial after they've left the presidency, to impeach them afterwards.
As he said, it's up to it will probably go to the Supreme Court, which is the reality there. And I see no way that will be allowed. And there's a lot of other constitutional professors, et cetera, that are saying that there's no way that you can't impeach someone who's already out of office. Otherwise, we could go back and impeach George W. Bush for the Iraq War.
Well, we can't say that. We simply can't say that at the moment. We don't know. It will have to go probably to the courts or to many other professors. Just a couple of points I have to put you. You know that 10 Republicans in the House of Representatives voted today to impeach a Republican president. What does that tell you about a Senate trial if it comes to that? 17 would have to turn against the president to convict him.
Right. So the 10 that voted, for the most part, the 10 that voted in favor of impeachment today, the 10 Republicans, are people that were very anti-Trump before he ever took office and have been over the last 4 years. They just felt emboldened enough knowing he's going out of office to say so now. And they thought it would be it would be positive for their political futures to do so. I think they've made a dramatic mistake by doing so. As to the Senate, you know, if say we go to a trial that again will probably be, you know, the Supreme Court will probably rule against it. But even if we get to that point, to get 17 Republicans willing to go on the record saying that they're for an impeachment of a president at this point already out of office on the shakiest of terms of any impeachment ever in the history, is going to be very difficult, because all these senators, there's one single thing every single politician cares about, and that's getting reelected. And as a Republican senator, they will fear that will harm their opportunity. And honestly, it will. The
implication of that is that they care more about their political careers than they do about the country or the democratic process. Mr. Trump has made all sorts of statements today which seem quite placatory. He's also said his supporters will be very angry if he's impeached. He's been impeached. How much more angry can we expect people to get? We've already seen them in an armed attack on Capitol Hill, storming through the halls of Congress, demanding the vice president be hanged. They brought pipe bombs. They brought guns. What next?
Well, as terrible as that is, there was no armed attack on the Capitol. At this point, there's still been no weapons that were found. As horrible as it was, not to discount it. But again, you're falling into the false American media narrative there. You're talking about maybe 1,500 people out of 74 million American voters that supported the president. I denounced what took place last Wednesday stronger than I could ever do on air here. On my own social media, as did every single Republican that I know. None of us have ever met these nuts and crazy, violent people that did what they did last Wednesday. But the reality is there was hundreds of thousands of people there, and we're talking about very few that actually committed those crimes. And I hope they go to jail and get the full extent of the law for what they've done. But the reality is Republicans will be angry. The base will be angry if President Trump is impeached. But what I will tell you, that how that anger will play out will be in 2022 when these people lose their seats. Any Republican that voted for this will end up losing their seat for the vast majority, with very few exceptions to a couple moderate districts.
The implication of your position seems to be there should be no consequences, no real world consequences then for the president who stood in front of the White House and said to those people, we have to fight like hell, telling them they should march on Congress, confront the people who were stealing the election he claimed falsely he'd won, otherwise their country would be gone.
Now, you made a mistake there. To be fair, you said confront. The Democrats, Maxine Waters and others, are the ones that have asked their voters to confront Republicans.
But no consequences for what he did then?
His exact, the reason you're not seeing on television supposedly him inciting a riot at the Capitol is because it didn't happen. If there was a clip of him doing that, the American media would be showing that nonstop. Instead, they're telling you what they assumed was his belief. But the reality is the words he actually used when he referred to them going to protest at the Capitol was to protest, quote, peacefully and patriotically. You can't be more clear than that. He made it very clear what he expected. He wanted a protest, which is a part of democracy. It's part of our rights as American citizens. He had no intention for it to go that. And I think in his mind, he never imagined his supporters could do what we saw happen last Wednesday. But again, he said peacefully and patriotically. There is no way to put that on the president. You can have your beef with the president, you can disagree with him, but you can't somehow conclude peacefully and patriotically turned into a riot.
Seth, you're saying this almost with a straight face. You must know that people who saw what happened last Wednesday and saw what the president said will be laughing at you for what you've just said. You cannot be serious about that.
I think the people that watch the American media, and that's the only version of this that they've heard, that may be the case. But the reality is, it's not a winning argument for me to come out in the media and make this argument, because the American media has already set the narrative that the president incited this. But as someone that likes to deal in facts, and I really don't care what other people think of my opinion when I'm dealing with facts, I'm going to have to go back to, I've watched the speech, I've listened to the words. There was nothing there that would incite violence. He specifically said the opposite.
Seth, we're going to have to, this is a much bigger discussion. As you know, we're going to have to leave it there. I thank you for talking to us.
Anytime.